Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Todd Fernandez with Climate Crisis Policy and Earth Bill Network, and I'll be your host today. Thank you all for being here and for paying attention to the Earth Bill, formerly titled the Earth Act to Stop Climate Pollution by 2030. Briefly, again, the Earth Bill puts mandates in law requiring utility companies, vehicle manufacturers, and publicly traded agriculture and livestock corporations to transition their operations to eliminate greenhouse gas pollution by 2030. The bill requires these companies to create and submit transition plans within 1 year of an enactment and to submit those to the Secretaries of Energy, Transportation, and Agriculture. And those agencies are required to report to Congress and work with the National Academy of Science to assist and ensure the transitions occur, monitoring progress yearly. In sum, this bill stops climate pollution at the factory source. And this is the mantra: mandates on industry to stop climate pollution at the factory, at the source. This is the mantra we're trying to get into the conversation. This is the demand we need to make. This is the demand the climate movement should be making all together. And this is the political litmus test we must use to determine if Congresspeople are for the planet and people or for the handful of mega corporations that control our government and politicians. The latest IPCC report affirms what we've long known, that time has run out and we are headed to a catastrophic 3 degrees Celsius warming of Earth. The United Nations Secretary General called this a ticking time bomb. The report also affirmed that we have the solutions, but that the problem is politics, the government. The fact is that big ag and big oil control our politicians. They control and set the agenda. And if they don't want an issue on the agenda, like mandates to stop pollution, it does not appear. This is true in the United States and at the United Nations. So this is our quest, our challenge. We must break that control. And the only way to do it is district by district, with constituents and groups taking action to engage and pressure their representative. As you know, district organizing has been the focus of climate crisis policy and now the Earth Bill Network for several years, trying to lead by example. Organizing by congressional district is the most important use of everyone's time. And time is running out while we continue to focus on a million other things. The whole point of a flagship bill with real solutions is to provide a unifying rallying cry, to unite in large enough numbers, loudly enough to change the political status quo. Right now, people and organizations are watching instead of acting. Many activists and organizations are still yelling in the streets and outside companies that are entirely unaccountable to the public. This is not where the levers of power are. They are in the voting booth and the relationships communities have with their elected officials. Marching and protesting are only basic and superficial methods. They are not a strategy, they are actions. They lack a sustainable through line that enables activists to continue to work independently between events. As a gay rights activist, I can assure you that marches do not make changes to the law. That is far more complex. We must go deeper into the power and relationships around each congressperson. We must study their federal election committee reports to know who their major donors and group donors are. We must investigate and figure out which local leaders support them and who they listen to. This will not be easy. The status quo and even the environmental community itself is providing cover to avoid calling this very simple question: do you support mandates on industry to stop climate pollution or not? We must hold the environmental leadership to account as well and pressure them to join in making this basic fundamental demand. Obviously, we have a huge mountain to move. It will take focus, concentrated and exponential focus on a singular goal. And this is the hard part because everyone has a full plate of other ideas and efforts. But splintered like this, we are weak and ineffective. And the history to date bears this out. Together we win, divided we fall. We are going to have to learn to focus our time, 25%, 50%, 100% on the Earth Act. There is no other real solution at the scale we need, at the juncture where voters meet candidates, at the seat of power. There is no other tool designed to unite civil society and the public to defeat the corporate greed destroying our sacred home and to rally the millions of people who are panicked about this situation. I'm sounding the alarm here on purpose over and over again because urgency is really the most important thing now. In order to change course in time, we must organize faster, faster, and faster. We cannot plod along. We must call and write and hold district meetings and recruit like first responders, like the emergency we face. We can't let weeks or months go by between contacts to the office. They need to hear from you and others regularly, like an alarm clock going off in their inboxes. Fortunately, our teams are hard at work. As you know, we now have 6 sponsors, each highly regarded. Representative Espaillat from New York, lead sponsor. Co-sponsors, Representative Velasquez, New York, Representative Barbara Lee, California, Representative Gerald Nadler from New York, Representative Grijalva from Arizona, and the latest, Representative Lloyd Doggett from Texas. That's 6 down and 429 to go. We don't need all of them, but we're trying for all of them. As you know, we are in full action mode this year with the bill introduced. We have transitioned all of our teams to action and are having regular meetings of the faith team, the Illinois state team, the Oregon's meeting. We're having Monday night working groups every other Monday night at 7. That's when we come together and we go one by one around what everyone's doing, and we share ideas and cross-fertilize. I've been meeting with the agriculture lead, and we're starting to launch that team. And we've been talking a lot about a Republican team, and that's sort of integrated into all of them, but we're going to see about having a Republican focus team meeting. We've partnered with earthday.org for all things Earth Month and the Earth Bill. You'll hear about those exciting plans later today from Evan, and how Representative Espaillat and our bill will be featured in events that reach hundreds of thousands. We're also in very exciting talks with 2 major celebrity performers via very close contacts, and we are dreaming big with these. Fingers crossed and stay tuned there. The hope is to have a social media blitz on Earth Day led by these megastars. We have fingers crossed. And Adam McKay from Don't Look Up has our tweet and is working to get that out. Turns out after all this time, he deleted his Twitter and Instagram accounts, so he's trying to get his company to do it. Promotion to the public is a key part of our strategy, and it's essential to build the public awareness needed to push Congress. So please keep thinking about celebrities and contacts in your circles. They seem to pop up when you start asking around somewhat miraculously. Our other front is outreach to organizations. We have several new groups on board of late. That's great, and would like to double our numbers in April with a full court press of action to get results in April. Please add 1 group to contact to your to-do list, particularly a non-environmental organization. So again, everything you need is on the website. Please study it, look at the action page, read the bill, particularly before having any meetings with Congress. It's only 15 pages. It's a good and easy and hopefully inspirational read. With that, we're going to get started today with today's rally. We're starting with a team of 1 from Texas who got our latest co-sponsor. Then we're going to introduce you to team leaders and hear about their great work across of our teams. And at 1 p.m., we'll hear from the coalitions working on the EPA front. So to get started, I'd like to welcome Lisa Walker from Texas 37, who single-handedly secured our 6th co-sponsor, Representative Lloyd Doggett of Austin. Lisa, welcome and thank you. The story on this shows that our plan and setup is working, and it's an inspiration to others to follow suit. Thank you for being here. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much. I haven't been as involved with the group on the ground level. I've been monitoring everything you're doing. So excellent, excellent work. And that's such a rousing talk there. I can't emphasize enough what you said. It just speaks to me completely and should speak to everyone. So anyway, on the front of connecting with representatives, I basically just, like I said, I've been following the work. I got the call to reach out. I went in and saw the great information, and it's pretty much packaged in a way that you can easily share it with your representative. I didn't do much, but that's what you have to do. You have to just take the step. Took that information, packaged it up, put it in, went to the website for Lloyd Doggett. I didn't even have a personal email connection. I put it into the regular format that they have for communicating with the representative online. But I did have a personal touch because I do know from history, I have family connections, and I've known the Doggett family for a while, and I have current, connections with family members. So I did put that in, but I was touching base, and I said, this is important. basically used the words that Todd and you all have put together and packaged it up to say, I hope you co-sponsor. And that's all it was. Then he came back, he said, very interesting. And he laid out all of his amazing achievements and record for climate. And he said, I'm very interested. Could you tell me more about what's happening in the districts so that he could get a feel for the mobilization that was happening around the bill? And so again, went to the website that you have, and the Adopted District Network was vital in that it existed, and I could share it back with him and also give him the point person for our district that happened to be there online, and shared that back. And then shortly thereafter, he appeared as the co-sponsor. So it's just taking the step. You don't know till you ask, and putting the word out there, and enough people do it. A lot of people are very interested. One thing that quickly came to mind with him is he's on the Safe Climate Caucus and the House Sustainable Energy and Environment Coalition. So those folks are ready-made to ideally sign on to this. So look them up and go for them. And he was a sponsor of the Green New Deal, but he also has connections with the League of Conservation Voters. And interestingly, there's Defenders of Wildlife Action Fund and the National Parks Action Fund give voting records for people on climate, and he has a voting record score of 100%. So those are ways that you can look up people, and find people ready-made that probably would be willing to jump on right away. And then there are the others that you need to kind of work on it a little bit more diligently, but thanks, that's it.
I'm muted. Well, bravo, and thank you so much, Lisa. You are a crowning example of the proof of concept and the team in motion, and it's just great and thrilling to see it working, and I appreciate so much everything you've done. And as Lisa knows, when we get one, then we follow up with a thank you note, and then we're asking them for help identifying a Republican member of Congress or other Democrats, and basically we're going to continue to try to engage them. I see Marta's question in the chat, and I'll be
You've muted yourself, Todd.
Todd, you're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know where I muted myself, but I see March's question in the chat, and we'll be continuing to, we'll talk more about follow-up and escalation plans going through the meeting today. But in the meantime, if everyone could copy the earthbill@gmail.com, CC the earthbill @gmail.com, and all your correspondence with Congress. And that way I can help with the follow-up and the escalation, which is a art and a science and a very delicate maneuver. And so I'm happy to help lead that way. So introduce me in your thank you and your follow-up email saying thank you for, or I already sent you an email. I'm writing to follow up, and I'd like to introduce and include Todd Fernandez from our organization for any follow-up questions, etc. And CC me. And that'll give me an entree to start pressuring, which is sort of my expertise. All right, next up, we are welcoming members of the faith team who've now been organizing by tradition. And so we have, first up, we have Peter Sergienko, who I want to thank and welcome and thank him for all of his work. Peter's now leading the faith team effort, and he's going to give you an update about Oregon, Episcopalians, and I forget something else. Go ahead, Peter, take it away.
Thanks, Todd. Good morning and good afternoon to everyone, wherever you are. As Todd said, my name is Peter Sergienko. I'm in Oregon in Congressional District 1. My representative is Suzanne Bonamice. I have been organizing communities of faith to take action on climate for a long time, starting within my own tradition, the Episcopal Church, and moving into ecumenical and interfaith work over the years. I currently work through Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon and Oregon Interfaith Power and Light to organize across the state of Oregon. I really appreciate, and Todd's message of urgency resonates with me, and I think with faith communities especially because of the moral questions that are being called. And the longer we wait, the less we do, the more we settle for what's politically possible, the worse things get. And the people that are hurt first and worst are the people who are least resilient. And those people tend to be people with low incomes and people in communities of color. And from a moral perspective, perpetuating systems that benefit the 1% and that harm those least able to be resilient to that harm is simply unethical, unjust, and immoral. In terms of organizing the faith communities, I just would urge everybody to think about how your tradition works in terms of hierarchies. So if you're a member of a congregation, everyone can organize their own congregation. If you're in a tradition that has hierarchies, think about how your hierarchies work and organize up and across those hierarchies. In my tradition, in the state of Oregon, we have a diocese. We have above that in the West Coast, basically provinces. And beyond that, we have the entire Episcopal Church. And there are ways to organize at each level, to reach out to people and make connections at each level. And in that way, you can spread the work that you're doing outside of your state and to other states and ultimately to the entire country, probably. I think going back to Oregon particularly, one of the things that we're experiencing here is that sort of second level of resistance to demands for mandates. And we've had these conversations already, and we're going to have them again. But even within the Democratic caucus here, there is sympathy, there's desire to act, there is recognition of the severity of the problem, and there's still bargaining with what's politically possible versus what's necessary. And so again, I think that calling that moral question in a positive way, and I think particularly developing messages for how the Earth Bill, the Earth Act, will improve all of our futures in multiple ways is important. So stressing the positive developments of less pollution, less cause of lung cancer, other kinds of lung diseases from greenhouse gas pollution, from carbon dioxide, from the toxins in gasoline, rather. We're going to clean up our air as we clean up our vehicles and as we clean up our electricity generation. And that's really an important set of co-benefits from the standpoint of most faith communities. So there is a better future, and it's not just about the long-term effects of climate change, which are crucial and which are essential. There's short-term health benefits too that are very important. And yeah, with that, I'd say the other thing that I want to emphasize is in organizing, thinking strategically about building relationships that are enduring. And as Todd mentioned, this is urgent, but it's also long. And we want to develop relationships with people who understand that, who understand what we're asking them to do, and who are ready to come in and join this effort, join this fight, and work with us now and over the long haul for the change that is necessary. So think about how you're going to build relationships, how you're going to get those people that are in your network to get people from their network. So this movement spreads and grows and becomes even stronger than it is now. And I think I'll stop there.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Peter, for everything. Next up, we're going to invite Nancy Lorence, who is one of our founding and foundational members, without whom many times I would have crumbled. Nancy, thank you for everything. Welcome. Please introduce yourself and tell us about the fabulous work that the Catholics and Franciscans are doing.
Hello, everybody. Yes, welcome. So I'm just going to give an overview of kind of what we've thought the different techniques that we would use to outreach within the Catholic community. And there are several people on this call that can go into more detail if they want to. But first and foremost, and Kristen presented this in our last meeting, was to outreach to friends and family. And just to think of, all the possible friends and family and different associations that we have, different networks that we have, and reach out to them and ask them to sign on as supporters of the Earth Bill and to possibly approach their legislature. And, some people have had good results with that. Thinking also about your college networks and different associations and organizations that you network with. The other thing within the Catholic context to the congregations of women and men religious, the Jesuits, the Dominicans, the Franciscans, the Sisters of Charity, etc. There are many of them, and as congregations, they can get on board to support the Earth Bill. And many of them are really good letter writers, so that's an advantage. I would say also that we're reaching out to the parishes, both to expand the whole idea of parishes adopting Pope Francis's Laudato Si encyclical and kind of figuring out a way that they can put that into practice in their parish for sustainability and lifestyle practices. And one of the ways that we're doing that is showing the film called The Letter, which is a very motivational and inspirational film. And always making sure that we have Earth Bill flyers to talk about what can you do after the film, and putting that out as one thing that people can do. So I guess the other approach that I should mention is just the approach out to the Catholic universities and student groups. Phil might talk more about this, but universities themselves are probably not going to take a political position, but there are environmental student groups in the Catholic universities that come from all over. And so that's one of the other kind of ways of reaching out that we've talked about. So, and any events, there's a woman here in New York that is connected to the Botanical Gardens and has really coordinated with us a lot, Lisa Meyer, in a wonderful way to get flyers out to some of the Botanical Garden events. You've got kind of a captive audience there. So it's another thing that people might think about.
Excellent. Wonderful, Nancy. Thank you so much. Just a little plug, the Faith team meets the third Wednesday at noon. So this is the fourth Wednesday, which is when our general meeting is. We might not have these every month because we're really meeting a lot and we're doing working meetings. This meeting is intended as a general overview and rally and sort of letting everyone know where things stand. So we'll do it periodically, but not necessarily all the time, not every month. But anyway, the Faith meeting is the third Wednesday. Let's see, chugging along here. The UUs weren't able to send anyone today, the Unitarian Universalists, but they are hard at work, and I have a report back from Terry, who says, Terry Ellen, that the UU team has about 7 people, has personal ties to the Unitarian Universalist Ministry for Earth, UUs for Economic Justice, Community, and the UUs for Social Justice. I believe all 3 of those institutions have already taken the pledge for the Earth Bill, but they're working on the Earth Act to get it, I think, to get them to put it in their action plans. So to mobilize around it, like the Creation Justice Ministry did with their email blast, inviting people to, contact their congressperson. And they're also working out to a national leader in the environmental justice to bring attention. So they're working in every direction, and they're one of our flagship teams. We also have a good beginning with the Quakers, with Margaret, I forget Margaret's last name at the moment. And so that's beginning. And if you have any other, if you're part of any other faith tradition and you would like to help lead that tradition with our work, we need you. We have lots of people, individuals who've signed on under different faiths, but we don't have necessarily a couple people to take the reins and run with that organizing by tradition. And we're finding that that really works well. I see John waving his hand, so I'm going to invite him to see what he would like to say. John, you're muted. Go ahead.
My name is John Staten, and I am very, very happy to be a part of this group. I am a relatively new member. What I would like to share is an event that we're having on April 24th. It was originally scheduled for April 22nd. However, the venue was not available. And what it is our Earth Day 2023 program. It is sponsored by the Knights, the Bishop Emerson J. Moore Council 404 and Ladies Auxiliary Council 404 of the Knights of Peter Claver. It's also sponsored by the Social Action Committee of my fraternity, the Social Justice Ministry of St. Charles Borromeo Church, and we in partnership with We Act. What I will do, because I have Todd has graciously consented to meet with me tomorrow on Zoom, at which I will go into further detail. What I will do is to send this information to Todd with the hope that he will be able to get it out. Of course, you are all invited. It's on Monday, April 24th from 5:30 to 8:30. It will be at the Kennedy Center in Harlem, and it will also be on Zoom. So if you're not able to attend in person, you certainly can participate via Zoom. Part of the program includes information from Catholic teaching on the environment. In particular, there's a section in the book that deals with the climate dilemma. And there are 4 things there: scientific consensus of the human impact, environmental impacts may have broad reach, responsibility toward future generations, obligations to assist the resource poor, and protect the atmosphere that supports us. And of course, this is a booklet that was developed to celebrate the 5th anniversary of Laudato Si. Also, I'm in contact with the father of environmental justice, and that's Dr. Robert D. Bullard. So we're using information from his book entitled The Quest for Environmental Justice. There's a chapter there that I'm going to highlight. It's chapter 10 called Environmental Reparations. So there's so much. And of course, I am in district with Representative Adriano Espaillat. And so he's been invited to participate in this program as well. So I just wanted to share that. I'm the new person I'm the new person on the block.
John, thank you.
This is only my 2nd year of involvement, and I'm excited. So thank you.
John, that's wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is so exciting. And when I got your message, I was very excited, and I look forward to talking to you more about it tomorrow. Excellent. And after today's meeting, today's a little bit of a rally for Earth Month, April. We're going to have lots of things going on, and we're going to be talking about that in just a minute. Evan is joining us, and then we're going to go through our own Earth plans, and we'll be having a calendar of events and all sorts of exciting things. Before I get into that, I just want to do, it's already 12:30, which is when Evan is due. Is he here yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. So before I do that, then I'll just touch base and invite Phil to say it, Phil Waldrop, to say a couple of words. Phil is with St. Francis Xavier Environmental Ministry, and of course the Metro Catholic New York group. And Phil is helping me to focus on Republican districts, and particularly finding faith organizations within Republican districts. So if you are in a Republican district and you need to help getting groups there, particularly faith groups in particular, obviously, Philip's your guy, and he's just going to say a little hello and what he's up to in one district. And hopefully you can put your email, Philip, if you don't mind, in the chat, and people can also follow up that way. Welcome, Philip, and thank you for this.
Thank you. I'll be brief. The idea that Todd just said is that we're going to we're planning on identifying Republican districts that are could be swing districts or leaning towards environmental concern. And within those, we want to find avenues to nudge them And we were thinking the faith communities, and in this case, we're looking for parishes, universities, religious orders, whatever, in those districts to sort of energize, to communicate with their congresspeople. It's a way of they're adopting a district. We're just getting going on this endeavor, and we could use help too. So that's the brief summary. I'm connected to our parish, which is very busy with the Metro New York Catholic Climate Movement. But we want to get out into other states. I'll end there.
Excellent, excellent. So we're working on our Republican list of targets, and I'm going to be talking more about our whole April push. But if you're in a Republican district, particularly a swing district or district that's had any storm, bad destruction, fires, etc., please write me and let me know about this, that if you're there and want to be active in it. And we're going to keep track of the chat. Great, thank you. It's coming in. I know a lot of you are in this situation, and it's a very interesting and exciting front for the entire climate movement. Frankly, they're really affiliated with the Democrats by and large, and they haven't yet really ventured into this front. So that's what we're going to be doing, and we're breaking new ground here, and I think it's going to be very exciting. Evan's still not here?
He is here.
Oh, he is. Oh, great. Evan. So next up, we're going to launch into our big push for April, which is now Earth Month. Earth Day has become Earth Month. For me, every day is Earth Day. So it's Earth Year, Earth Decade. But we could not be more excited to be partnering with earthday.org and Evan Raskin, who's a magnificent leader and organizer and a great supporter of the Earth Bill. I'll talk after Evan about our April push, but as you can hear, it's full court press in April. Evan, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Todd. Really appreciate the introduction. Good morning, everybody. My name is Evan Raskin. I lead the national campaign for earthday.org. We're the global organizers of Earth Day on April 22nd, as well as environmental action year-round. I mean, Todd put it perfectly. Every day is Earth Day in our book, but April 22nd is really that moment where we can get all the spotlight on the environment for at least that one day in the general public. And the organizing power of Earth Day can be monumental in pushing these efforts forward. And I can't think of a better initiative for our federal government than to take action on the Earth Bill. Last year, we saw the Earth Bill make some solid progress through Earth Day 2022. This year for 2023, we want to try to mobilize the public to join in on that support. Around April 5th, we'll be launching a letter writing campaign to mobilize our audience to contact their members of Congress in support of the Earth Bill. And on April 17th, that Monday before Earth Day, we will be hosting a webinar as part of our Earth Day live series, focusing on how elected leaders at each level of government can support and implement climate action for a happier, healthier, and wealthier future. And for our April 17th session, this will feature Representative Espaillat, who will be speaking to our audience about the Earth Bill and hopefully drumming up support from both the public as well as other elected leaders alike, making sure that at all levels, people are taking action to invest in our planet. That's our theme for Earth Day 2023. Invest in our planet to not only solve the climate crisis and other environmental issues, but also to pave the best path forward towards prosperity in the 21st century. As Greg was so kind to share, we are listing thousands of events worldwide at the URL that he included. If anyone in this audience is planning an event themselves, please feel free to register your event for our map. Not only does that allow us to help our volunteers attend in your own events, but it also helps us demonstrate the size and scale of Earth Day every year to decision makers, showing that the advocacy for Earth Day and the Earth Bill isn't just that protest they see on the corner, but really a unified push by people of all geographies, of all backgrounds, who all want to see a more sustainable future. And so we certainly encourage folks on this call to get out to an Earth Day event in your community. And when you do, please spread the word about the Earth Bill, help mobilize the folks at those events to take action, to call their members of Congress, to participate in our letter writing campaign. The more that we can raise our voices as members of the public on Earth Day, the better we're able to create that advocacy. I've always been really moved by the Environmental Voter Project's research that shows that there's so many environmentalists who don't vote, millions of them, in fact, and even millions more of Americans who don't make their voices heard, even if they identify climate as a top issue. And so all of us on this call, we can be leaders for our peers. We can use Earth Day as that leveraging moment where we can bring folks into the movement who typically wouldn't take the time of day to participate in advocacy. This is our opportunity to really mobilize the public. And I'm forever grateful for the work that you do here, Todd, and everybody who joins these calls to really dedicate yourselves towards mobilizing the public. Please tune in on April 17th to hear Representative Espaillat speak, sign the letter writing campaign, and continue doing the great advocacy work you're doing in your communities. Back to you, Todd.
Thank you so much, Evan, for everything. This is a huge platform and with extremely wide reach and big social media reach. So we're extremely grateful. I don't know if we're going to set a goal, Evan, for the letter writing campaign. We can talk about it offline, but with the reach that you have, maybe 50,000 or 100,000 letters. I don't know what's reasonable or feasible, but I think we should set ourselves an ambitious goal. And the hope is that it's going to be, all the groups that are doing events will see this on the Earth Day website and raise it in their meetings. So all they have to do is a passing reference. I think it's going to be in the toolkit, if I understood correctly, that basically will be a message to them, please point people to the letter writing campaign. So that way, thousands of events are happening, and then they all get just a slight mention of the Earth Bill, and then we'll really have exponential awareness, and so we could be on our way really to serious numbers. Wonderful. Well, with that, Evan, I know you're so busy, so you don't have to stay if you don't want to, but I'm going to start to talk a little bit more for the next few minutes about our push in April. So I'll just start that push. And is there anything further you wanted to add, Evan?
I think that you summed things up beautifully, Todd.
Okay.
I just see in the chat here, Nancy asked, how do we access the Earth Day program on April 17th? And to clarify that question, both on earthday.org, you can find Earth Day live events, as well as on our social media channels. We are at Earth Day on Twitter and at Earth Day Network on Instagram. And you'll also be able to find it on our YouTube channels as well. So please feel free to tune into any of those sources. Specifically, the broadcast featuring Representative Espaillat will be happening at 12 p.m. Eastern Time on April 17th. All right, thank you.
And we'll have links in advance for that specific thing, and we'll be promoting that out through all of our networks, of course, to all of you. And yeah, the hope is that Evan, maybe you can tell folks how many people tune into those broadcasts.
So many people around the world. Our Earth Day live broadcasts see anywhere between 65,000 to 200,000 people tuning in. And we certainly welcome you to be part of that audience and join in for some really exciting programming.
Those are big numbers. We're very excited, very excited. All right, great. So just to touch base a little bit on this, and we're going to be covering this a lot more, but April, there's thousands of events and lots of people doing things. We want to think about what the results we want out of April are. And so I've started to coin this a little bit. We want 25 answers from 25 offices. I think that that's a pretty small number, but hopefully it's a reasonable range. So as you're looking at your districts and who you have in play and where they are, or how viable you think they should be, let me know. Please let us know. We're going to be compiling that list over the next week or so that by April, we're going to share that list publicly. These are the 25 offices we're going to double down on as a team and individually. And we want to get answers from those offices one way or another. So that requires a lot of diligent, persistent work during that in the next few weeks. And I guess now's an okay time to talk a little bit about reaching out to Congress. So I put the the document that has all the information in it on it. And that initial email and contact needs to really reach the legislative director. So Greg and Mary have already written directly all the legislative directors for the Democrats. And bravo and thank you. Applause for that hard labor. But the trick is really for district constituents to write them directly. And now I'm asking for people to copy CC the Earth Bill Network. It's the earthbill@gmail.com, the earthbill@gmail.com. And I'll assist with the escalation, but really it's following up every week, at least once a week. Hi, I wrote you last week. I'm writing to follow up. I know you're busy, but I'd really appreciate if you could take a moment to read this bill. It's only 15 pages. It's a quick read. Here's the summary. It's very short, very easy to understand. They'll know exactly what it does and how it calls very important questions. Doesn't need a huge amount of explanation. What it really needs is persistence and following up, because these people are very, very busy with all sorts of busy things. So it's really about being the squeaky wheel to get their attention. So you write back, if you spoke with the policy assistant or somebody, or a legislative assistant, after that, you reply and make sure you copy me and the legislative director. It's critical that you get this on the legislative director's radar and inbox, because they will then, it'll cue them to touch base with their staff, to maybe look at it themselves. And it sets the stage for me to continue the conversation, pressing them more and more. And so you're going to write them each week. And then you also are looking for other people to write them independently of you, other organizations in your district, other individuals. It's fine. You're going to be the squeaky wheel. If your organization is ready to start phone banking into the office, there's nothing wrong with polite phone banking, particularly during April. It's April, it's Earth Month. We're calling to see if you're ready to take action on the Earth Bill. We hope you will review it and consider it favorably. This kind of thing. If you've written them already, you want to write them back and say, here's the list of current co-sponsors, and that's in the email list. So you can include those again, and that sort of bumps it up in their mind, and they see these names. That incentivizes them to pay it more closely, or pay it closer attention. So there's a variety of ways to escalate, and it's really tricky. You have to go into this with a sense of entitlement, that you are the constituent. You have the right to guide them and to ask them, and ultimately to demand that they take a stance on this legislation. We're going to have to get out of our comfort levels. And if you don't feel comfortable getting to the demand side, you can just be the polite squeaky wheel. I drove Representative Espaillat's office crazy, and they thanked me for it, but I know how they really felt about it. They were conflicted, but they really appreciate it. And they even said on a call yesterday, and you have to be willing to, just keep pressing and be obnoxious, really. And as elders, you have a standing that you need to assert, really, and not treat as if you're subservient to them and that it's how they feel that matters and all of that. That's for amateurs, really, and for beginners, and for organizations that are more worried about access than they are results. We are going for the win. So you have to be willing to be determined, and it's about being nice, but relentless. I'll stop with that lecturing for now, because I can go on forever, and I'll help you. If you reach a dead end, copy me, call me, write Greg, let us know that you're stalled. And if it's more than a week and you haven't heard, take these steps, please. So that's the main thing on Congress. Outreach during April, we would love to double our list of groups, which is over 100. So please find one more group to add to your to-do list. And the group email outreach is very similar to the other one, but a little shorter. It's on the website, and particularly non-environmental organizations. We really need more of those, because that's the public that we're trying to reach. So one more group. And then, of course, if you are affiliated with environmental organizations, it's good and necessary to prod them on this. So send it to your local Sierra Club chapter, send it to the local Climate Reality Project chapter. We're working at those at the national level, but we really need to rattle the cages from the grassroots up. They'll be responsive to that. We don't need them right away, but the sooner we have them, the better. Because just as a note, we've heard back from outreach to Representative Jayapal's office, and she leads the Progressive Caucus. And we're hearing that the Progressive Caucus wants the bill to be more progressive. So that's well and good. They've had 2 years to, everyone's been aware of this bill in the drafting process. So now they're paying attention because it's a real bill. That's why you need a real bill to get that level of attention. That's fine, but it shouldn't be an impediment to them supporting the bill as it is. If everyone wants perfect bills, then they're living in a fantasy world. We have an excellent bill with a broad-based support that's extremely supported by science and the movement. There's no real good excuse for not supporting this bill while we work to improve it or tighten it. But this bill will eliminate the pollution that is destroying environmental justice communities, health, and et cetera. This is a huge win for environmental justice. So if they're talking about money and back to the, all this money that they keep clamoring for, that's not acceptable, really. So we need to hold them pressure, say, look, we need a mandate to stop the pollution. Why would you not be on board with that? And then whatever icing you want on the cake, we can try to work in over time. And we're open to edits to the bill, but as you know, that's a long, extended process. Espaillat's office is open to that, but it's not a top priority. So we'll have that conversation, we'll invite edits, but we cannot let that be an impediment. We cannot let the perfect be the enemy of the great in this instance. And we're going to have to push them because already that stance is, they've taken that stance because somebody in the environmental movement has said that to them. And, we've met with We Act, we've met with the Sierra Club. Somebody is still, already behind the scenes blocking things. So we're going to have to push through that. And if I sound frustrated, it's because that is annoying. Is lead, follow, or get out of the way is my mantra. And if they're blocking it, even at that little, oh, we wish the bill had more something or another, that's unacceptable. And we're going to push that. We're going to push through that resistance over time. And then the last thing is, of course, promotion. This is critical, as you know. And I mentioned we have 2 celebrities in play. Fingers crossed, prayers, full force on your prayer book. I'm not going to mention the names because these seems to be a bad idea to get out in front of that. If we can, we're going to try to use April 22nd, Earth Day, as a social media blitz day. And we're going to try to use that as a pitch to get these celebrities to come on board in a faster timeline and to give them a specific ask. And all we're asking is for a social media post from them, maybe a little video if they feel like it, just to get them on the hook to begin with. And later we'll be escalating our asks to hopefully have an online concert for the Earth Bill at some point later. So the idea is social media blitz on Earth Day, and hopefully we'll have the post from Adam McKay and a couple others for all of us to repost and escalate along those lines. I think that's it for now, and then we'll take some questions, and we have about 10 minutes before the next presenters come on board. Thomas, please go ahead.
Thank you, Todd. I'm sorry that Evan seems no longer to be on the call, but I wanted to ask him to expand on his, to me, brand new emphasis on investing in the future and on prosperity as a goal for sustainability. Those words really, they moved me. And I think they did because it allows me to speak to people who are, as you're emphasizing, Todd, in the Republican camp. If we can emphasize those kinds of things a little bit more, how this is an investment and we're going to be more prosperous as a result. That's not our only objective, of course, but if we can remember to use those words.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Thomas. Yes, that's great. We're going to be still coming up with some new fact sheets for Republicans and for on the Farm Bill front. Oh, and Greg, keep an eye. Let me know if Rebecca shows up. Nancy, go ahead, please.
Just adding a little to what, the Republican states of Georgia and South Carolina, none of whom voted for the Inflation Reduction Act, they're all getting all of these new industries coming into their states that are producing, batteries for the cars and electric cars, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to reap the prosperity from the Inflation Reduction Act with the new industries that are coming into their states, and they're all Republicans.
Uh-huh. And yeah, so let me see if I can find the climate action. I'm sure they'll talk about it in a minute, but the climate action campaign has come up with a list by state of where all the IRA grants and the transportation grants are being awarded. So it's, you know, it's a preliminary list of current grants. There's 11 billion, I think, out of 1 trillion awarded. So they have a ways to go, but at least it gives you some good, you know, points if you're trying to use that as an angle for conversations. I'll put those links in later. Anyone else, any comments or questions? If you stuck anywhere on anything, if you want advice. All right, we're gonna be killing a little time because we have 8 minutes. I never thought we'd have time with nothing to say. So I'm gonna share my screen and just, oh, go ahead. I'm gonna share the screen for a second and just remind everybody about the Earth Bill website. And then John, well, just one second, John, and I'll come to you. So I want you to all please go to the Earth Bill website, earthbill.org. Familiarize yourself with it. It's got a wealth of information and resources. The main page has all the main co-sponsors and has a link that takes you right to the bill. And then all the supporters are listed here, lots of logos. And then at the bottom, it's got a link and it takes you to a list of all the groups alphabetically. I'll just click it so you can see. Here's a list of all the groups by alphabetical. So that way you can see if your group is here and if not, what group you're trying to reach out to. And then it has all the action page, which has everything you really need in terms of the main emails and whatnot. And then under resources, it has the means and whatnot. And we could really reconfigure this a little bit. But the action tools, if you click on the action tools page under resources, that takes you to a wealth of information. Most of it's on the website, but it's just has PDFs and emails and flyer PDFs and just breaks down the information about what to do in a more specific way and has other resources. So, and then the last one is get informed. And if you have to read this, because this whole page is a wealth of information about the bill and what it does in layman's terms here. And when you there's the GH greenhouse gas report, which we don't talk about enough yet. Remember, additional 40% reductions in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030, an additional 50% by 2050. This is the only bill that puts us on track to reach the US Paris target goals. And this is, I'm not going to get this thing out of the way. This is the clock, the carbon clock, which sent me into panic and why I've devoted my life and all my time to this effort. 6 years and 3 months before we put enough pollution in the air to surpass 1.5. Odds are we're going to fly through that. We're going to bust through these and we're going to continue going. The trajectory now seems to be 3 degrees Celsius. But we don't have time, and that sense of urgency really explains the 2030. And the whole point of the bill is to lift up 2030 as an urgency deadline and to use it to force that conversation. And then here's a section about the experts. So renewable electricity, people say, oh, is it doable? And you click on sources and you see all sorts of expert analysis and reports and videos, et cetera, that show and tell how this is doable. So, you don't want to get too trapped up in that conversation about what's doable and what's not doable. There's plenty of scientists say that it's necessary. And if we don't do it, we're going to enter into catastrophe. So that's the real answer. And then the second answer is yes, it's doable. And particularly if we all put our mind to it and passed a law that made it mandatory, you would see everything magically manifest that now seems impossible. So that's the website. I just keep bringing it back. So if you haven't done a good read of it, please do. And then send it to other activists who are, smart and detailed and like to really understand the nuts and bolts. All right, John, real quick, and then Nydia real quick, if you don't mind. And well, 2 minutes each. We have until 1 o'clock. Go ahead, John.
Yes, I would just like to thank you for all of the information that I have gotten thus far. A part of my frustration is getting the local elected politicians involved in the process. So I have reached out to my councilwoman. I have reached out to the state assembly person, and I've reached out to the state senator because it's important. Well, this is like preaching to the choir. It's important, to have them involved as well. So I am not giving up on that because I think that we need their support as well. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say, and I wanted to thank you for the information.
Wonderful, thank you. So particularly, thank you, John, for that point. And I'm just going to lift it up. Reports. Particularly once you start studying your elected official, many of them have prior histories in local law and state office. So that means they have ties to local and state officials. And if you're in our instance, we have FSBA, but they can be very helpful conduits because they are power brokers in their own right. And the other thing I want to mention is the RNC and the DNC local committees. Please look those up. Find the leaders of those committees. You can usually find a whole list for your state. You just type in DNC state committees and your state. There will be a whole list. All their emails will be there. Write those people about the Earth Bill. And then really network your way into relationship with one or so of them and find the ones that care about the planet. Try to find their local meetings, go to their local meetings and meet people there. And those people, when I've done this once, sort of half-heartedly, I haven't done it full steam yet. When I go there and I've mentioned that there's an Earth Bill and their ears perk up, they have been waiting like in a desert for a solution that they can attach to and help with. So when you find them, they might be your magic wand that then weaves, brings all the other power brokers into play to help pressure this elected official, this congressperson. They care about what those local committee people think, because those are the people that do the GOTV, that get out the vote. So you want to get to those. You want to find the organizations that endorse, that do public endorsements of the congressperson and reach them. Those are power brokers. And we'll be talking about all this more in April. And then the last thing is the FEC report, the Federal Election Commission reports. And if we have time at the end of the meeting, I'll open this and go into it with you. But if you click on that link and type in your congressperson, you will see who gives them money. And that's another very important avenue to pursue. We did this with Jan Stokowski's office, and one of the members in Illinois, which has a fabulous Earth Bill team, saw that a union that he's affiliated with gives money to her, as well as other groups, obviously. And that triggered the idea of him going after his union for support. So it's a treasure trove of information. And for the sleuth in all of us, we have to start researching more deeply. Nydia, please go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, thank you to everybody for what they're doing. I'm not really doing much on the, because Gerald Nadler has signed on. I'm sort of doing other things related to climate. And one of them deals with the decommissioning of the nuclear plants at Indian Point. I'm going to be writing a letter from on behalf of the grannies to our senators, because there are two bills in the New York State Assembly and the Senate dealing with the fact that we do not want wastewater that's radioactive dumped into the Hudson. This is going to be a problem for all nuclear plants that are decommissioned. So my question, Todd, is, since I'm copying our senators, Schumer and Gillibrand, is there a senator who could do a companion bill for the Earth Bill in the Senate?
Well, thank you, Nydia, for the granny support. It's meant a lot all along this journey. We've spoken to one Senate office about it. It's not a top priority at the moment. We're going to get through April. And then in May, I'll double down on that. And we're exploring options there. And we'd love to have a Senate bill. We have put the information forward to senators who are working on the farm bill, the farm elements of our bill, to include those in the conversations and to hopefully form a voting bloc to push for amendments what they're really resonating with them is the idea that we are entitled and have a responsibility to put mandates on major corporations to stop pollution. And basically that we have the Congress has the duty to legislate in the public welfare, not in the welfare of a few corporations, against the welfare of thousands of corporations that would benefit if we could break this log jam and this grip that they have on all these industries. So we're gonna be working to get this message and that idea into the conversation and use that as a leverage point to inspire and motivate activists and organizations to start making this demand of mandates on industry. Just say that, everyone, to yourself. Mandates on industry, mandates in law on industry to stop climate pollution. That's the mantra. All right. So with that, Nidhi, for now, I have to bounce to the next conversation. I want to welcome David Mills from the Climate Action Campaign. All of you know the Climate Action Campaign is about 12 or 15 major organizations. We worked with them extensively on the IRA for 2 years in the trenches. So we're all good and fast friends. And they are now focused on the EPA. And David, if you could also touch on I forget what it's called, but it's the report that you just put out about the IRA contracts that are going out all over the country, state by state. So we're in there's celebration about the IRA, but we can't sit on that win. It's like we did a huge thing. We got a touchdown, but this game is not over, obviously. So we can't rest on that. And part of that is the EPA push that's moving forward because there could real gains to be made there. And the EPA is slow and failing. I think it's a grade I would give them. And there's no excuse for it. They should have been busy and had this done a year ago. So now the full court press is on. It's like moving a cement brick wall, obviously, but that's true of all the work we do in this movement. So welcome, David. Courtney usually joins us, as you know. She's not available. David has graciously stepped into the fray, and we're glad to have you. The floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, so today I just want to talk about the air quality standard that is ongoing with the EPA. The Climate Action Campaign, if you don't know, the soot air quality standard is a standard the EPA has open to the public right now. It is accepting comments on the standard itself to get either strengthen the standard or see where the public is with the standard. We at CAC want the standard to be as strong as possible. The strongest possible standards onset, because these standards can limit dangerous fine particle pollution that triggers asthma attacks and leads to respiratory problems, heart attacks, and premature deaths. So we're looking for as many public comments as possible. And these comments can be, we have a petition, which I'll share in the chat very soon, which is just a grassroots petition, but we also have a grass top comment link that you guys can use too. We're really looking for help on the grass top comments. If you don't know what a grass top is, it's more or less public leaders or community leaders that the EPA tends to have listened to a little more. And these comments itself would be a unique comment that you would write through our particular link. And the link itself, when you look at it and when I share it in the chat, you'll see that we have a template for you to use that you can write out the comment yourself. Or we also have a grass top link, as we call the Mad Lib version of this, where we kind of write out a few things for the comment for yourself, and we have you guys fill out a small part of it to kind of make it a little more straightforward. It is a little more simple to do, but you wouldn't fully write full statement. So the normal link I'm going to share will be a full statement. The other link would be the Mad Lib statement. And then lastly, we also have an organizational sign-on letter that we're sharing around that we are also sharing with EPA. And I'll share this in the chat. And this is just a sign-on letter to have organizations sign on to having a strong soot standard. And I'll put this in here. And so if you are interested, your organization is interested in being a part of the sign-on letter, please sign on to it. Both of these are open. The comment period and the sign-on letter are open to next Tuesday, March 28th. That is when the comment period is ending. As I said, this is a huge particular rule, and we really want to make a strong statement so we can use as much help as possible particular rules with you for you guys' help. And so thank you on that end. To Todd's question, I also wanted to share our comms team just on the just released a TAC map, and I'll put that in the chat as well, where it shows the investments of the IRA by state, and happy to share that out too. And this is that. But yeah, I'm sorry I did put too much time on the map itself, but happy to answer a few questions on that. But yeah, if there's any questions on soot itself and the comment period or our CAC Climate Wins Here map, I'm happy to answer them now. Thank you, Nadia.
I'm muted. Wonderful. David, thank you for all of that. Any quick questions of David about the EPA and why it's failing? David, what's the I don't usually I never put Courtney on the spot like this, and I'm sorry to do it to you. But what's the recon on this? I mean, do they just, I know they hired somebody new to lead it. When I wish they had brought Gina McCarthy back to do that instead, gotten those regulations done in a year. Because I know the last time they got like regulations out too late and they got reversed because of that. So what's the real timeline and what's the holdup? Do we know anything?
It's kind of been a frustrating thing with the EPA. They're taking very long, as you said, Todd, on a lot of rules in particular. So for instance, beyond the soot rule, there is a number of rules we're looking at towards this year. For instance, the ozone rule is another very strong rule that we're hoping to kind of work on as well. But unfortunately, EPA is, instead of having it out this year, they're most likely going to push it back to next year for that to open as well. They're kind of dragging their feet on this, so we really don't have too much insight onto it. We've been doing a lot of pressure on them to get all out as quickly as possible, but they just have not been able to and have continued to push things back and back. And so that's why we're like, when we have a comment period open like soot, we kind of want to show that we have the support for any of these rules ready, and we want them to have as open as quickly as possible. And so, yeah, that's kind of what we have feedback on that end.
I got a question, David. I think you left the I out of action on the web page. Is action? It's got Acton, right? So it's ION on there.
No, that's Act on Climate is their website.
Oh, Act On. Okay, got it. I thought it was Action. Okay,
Act
that's
on
good
Climate.
to know.
Hey, maybe
Right.
Sorry about that, yeah.
Hi. And another thing, I said the EPA is captured, Congress is captured. Michael Regan was here in North Carolina as the DEQ head, and he really didn't do anything. He didn't fight for the stuff, and he's also captured, to be honest with you, because I'm not in any groups. I'm not going to get in trouble, so I can say it.
Yeah, I think that's obvious. I mean, we're looking at a failed response to the pollution crisis across the board. And that's why we're up in the demand for mandates on industry to categorically transition off of greenhouse gases, and then to fight that in the trenches on each congressional district. But on that note, David, thank you. And you're welcome to stay if you want. But next we have Quentin Scott from Chesapeake Climate Action Network, who's going to be talking to us about a protest outside of the EPA headquarters, which I'm thrilled about. Chesapeake Climate Action Network is my favorite ally in troublemaking. And we've done lots of that together. And they also led the district by district lobbying work for the IRA in a public way, which is a model. And we were all participating in that, as you probably all remember. So Quentin, it's great to see you again. It's been a minute. Welcome back. Tell us about the good trouble you're about to make outside the EPA.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. Thanks for having me here. As David said, and as we all know, the EPA has been dragging their feet with constant delays. And we want to make sure that outside of just participating in the comment period, that we're putting additional outside pressure. Because as we know, Biden campaigned on ending climate injustice, as well as greenhouse gas reductions by 50 to 52% by 2030. And without the EPA taking immediate action and bold action, we won't be able to make either one of those goals. And we risk, as Todd mentioned earlier, if we don't get these rules in place and a hostile administration comes to power, then they'll reverse these decisions and these rules. So time is not on our side. So we're gonna have a EPA rally, and I'm dropping it in the chat now, on Tuesday, April 4th at noon, where we're gonna tell the EPA to stop the delays, stop the chronic delays, and move fast quickly, because it's a really bad habit and they need to end that. So we're working with Hip Hop Caucus, Interfaith Power and Light, Food and Water Watch, Alliance of Nurses for Healthy Environments, and others, all on April 4th at noon. It's our goal to get over 200 people at this rally. So we need everyone's help to get to that number. Number one, if you live in the DC area, please attend. And two, if you're part of an organization, please share the link and promote on social media, so we can get as many bodies there as possible, because we want to show them that continued delays is unacceptable, and that we want to put pressure on the EPA to actually make these goals that Biden promised, and frankly, we need. So happy to answer any questions, but if you can't think of any questions at this moment, I'm dropping my email also in the chat. You can email me. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Excellent, Quentin. Thank you, as always, for leading that charge. I don't have the bandwidth myself, but I've been pushing for these protests at EPA headquarters for a while. I mentioned it almost now a year ago to the Climate Action Campaign, because you can't wait to do protests until it's too late for them to act either. I'm not complaining about this date. I'm wishing it had happened a year ago. Maybe they would already be in motion. You have to protest early. Like we started protesting Schumer's house and office within a month of the new Congress last year to push for climate bill, because we know it's all a delay game. It's all a delay game, and status quo wins the delay game. They have it built in that way. So my pitch to the New Yorkers in particular, or even wherever you are, if your teams like to get together and have physical events, find a regional EPA headquarters. There's one in New York. They're listed on the EPA's website, and try to pull something together for April 4th. Solidarity action, and let them be rattled. These kinds of bureaucrats are easily rattled. An action at the EPA is not a normal occurrence. The staff will get the message, everyone will get the message, security. So I think this is a bang worth the buck if you can pull something together for April 4th, or even anytime during the month of April at an EPA headquarters. I would encourage you all to start researching, the individual leaders at the EPA and finding ways to access and annoy them as possible. I'll leave it at that for now. Anything else, Quentin?
No, that's it. Look forward to seeing everybody on April 4th. And
April 4th.
If you do a distributed action at a different EPA location, post it on social media so we can amplify it.
Great. And Quentin, not to put you on the spot, but we already appreciate the endorsement from you, CCAN, for the Earth Bill. But at some point, I would love to talk to you more about using some of the contacts you have. It turns out, we got 6 co-sponsors, and it turns out that it's really about just asking half the time.
Yeah.
And so that's just about, often relationships get people to pay more attention to something quickly. So if there's any way for CCAN to leverage its legislative director database to send one email out to them during April, after your April 4th event, that would be a huge help. And so we could talk more about it, but I appreciate if you could give that some mulling over and discuss it internally.
Yeah, no problem. We can definitely do that. I can say it now. Send it an email, and like you said, sometimes it's just simply making the ask. We're going to be spending a lot more time on the Hill again as we're ramping up for Farm Bill and some other things that can have a positive impact on our climate.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, so it sounds like it might be good for us to just set up a little quick call to go over some of that more in detail.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Todd.
All right, Quentin, thank you. All right, everybody, as you can see, things are cooking in every direction. I'm just going to take a minute, since we have a minute left, to take you into the FEC world. Share screen. And then we'll take questions, of course, and I'll stay on the line for any for anyone who's new and you want to ask general questions. So here's the FEC. It's the Federal Election Commission campaign reports websites. Let's see here if I can find it. FEC filing candidate reports. This is the better link. Where's my chat? Here's the chat. Where is it? I can't find the chat right now. Oh, here it is. So here's a better link to click on. So go ahead and click on it if you would. This is where the real power brokers go to strategize. It's all about money in politics. That's not like a news flash, but as a movement, as activists, we often don't leverage this world for our benefit, and we're going to have to, particularly as we're going into Republican districts, but even with Democrats. Because people with the money get listened to, and we have people who donate in Illinois that are setting up meetings, and all they have to do is ask for a meeting and it happens. And so that's just the first, obviously, door opening exercise, and there's much more to it. But this is a way in. So if you type in here, let's I don't want to keep putting on. Let's type Schakowsky, since I know my way around. I don't know how to spell her name though. Let's pick anyone on here have a
S-C-H-A.
S-C-H-I, there she is, Jan Schakowsky. Since Jan Schakowsky already gave us a no, and the constituents in that team are not happy about that no, they are hot to trot on this whole situation. So let's see here. Total raised, financial summary. Here it is below. So we have to go to the right year. So this is 2024. That's no help. Go back to 2022, where the filings are going to be more thorough. Here you see it. So she's raised $1.5 million for her campaign. And then you see itemized individual contributions. That's one thing you want to click on. And then the other is other committee contributions. That gives you all the PACs, the political action committees that have donated to her. So we're going to click on that number, almost $500,000 she gets. And there you see who gives her money. Act Blue, so she's obviously important to the healthcare industry. Airlines, pilots, national beer wholesalers, they give money to everybody, I think. They want to keep beer legal. So you see there's a whole list of groups. And you'll scroll down, you're like, none of these are going to be helpful to you. But then American Academy of Family Physicians, that's a group that could care about this. There's lots of healthcare professionals that care about the climate movement. So you say they gave her $3,000. If you go back over here and under amount and you click amount, it gives you the highest numbers first. So then you can start to see who the big players are, and Act Blue gives a ton of money. So obviously Jan must be relevant to some healthcare committee. I don't know, or something. But then you see who the big players are. Orthodontist, I don't think they're going to help us. But you get the idea. You go through, and if you click on one of them, here's the machinist union, and that's the one that we have contact to. So if you click on this donation, it takes you to the name of the group and details. This didn't work that way. Let me click back. You have to do a little clicking around. Let's see, $1,000. There, if you click on the number, it'll show you basically names and contact information. So we'll just use, here's the name, United Pilots, Executive Council. And if you click on that, it should take us to more information about this organization, but I don't see it here. Well, anyway, you get the idea, basically. We're not going to figure this all out today. It takes some real dig deeping. I want to go back and Look at the individual contributions for a minute, $915,000. And if you put it by amount, there you see the big players. So here you have John Rogers, somehow or another contributed $6,000. Click on John Rogers, and there it shows the information. Chicago, Illinois. He's the chairman and CEO of Ariel Capital. That's why he's giving this money. Here's another, Mark Tindem. Click on him and it shows he's retired, a guy who's retired. So he could be, and then you're gonna have to find a way to contact Mark Tindem, start looking for him. But if somebody gives this kind of money, he's retired, he might care about the climate movement. Maybe his grandchildren are panicked, or you don't know what his hook is. So I realize this is deep sleuthing, but this is how we're gonna do it. We're not gonna break this logjam with phone calls and emails, or even meetings. You're gonna have to go far deeper, and we're gonna be doing this all year. So this is just a little glimpse into the money players. Here's an attorney, Neil Moglin. He's at a law firm. He'll be easy to find. I wouldn't necessarily go to lawyers first, but you never know. Ann Drake, what is she up to? She works for something called DSC Logistics. And so you'd have to go and look at what that company does. And you get the idea. This is not a click and done type of situation. It's a deep research. And if you have young people in your life, this would be a great ask. Ask your grandson, could you figure out who gives so-and-so money? And then the other thing, and point them in this direction and see what they come up with. And then, oh, something else just came into my mind and it went that fast. Oh, I have an idea that within 1 or 2 degrees of separation in your worlds, somebody you know knows your congressperson personally, or has some kind of relationship or ties, or knows someone who does. So we're going to figure out how to frame this. But basically what I'm thinking is I want us to each post on our own Facebook accounts. Does anyone here know Congressman such and such, or know somebody who does? That's all you have to do. And let this social media world provide you with contacts. You're gonna, when I did this in Florida with my mom and she had some friends over, I asked them who knows Kathy Castor, and they're like, these are old friends of ours. And they're like, oh, so-and-so did fundraisers for Kathy Castor when she was mayor of Tampa. And we know her extremely well. And then another friend said, oh, well, she's on the board of my organization. And I recruited her to the board years ago, and we're close and best friends. So there you go. I have a contact, a very solid contact through dear friends to Kathy Castor. And I myself have not leveraged it yet because I've been busy with getting us going, but I will be turning back around to that kind of thing. And that was my hometown district. So your Facebook and your friends could be a wealth of direct access. Just like Lisa said, you know, she knew Doggett family. Somebody in your world knows your congressperson's family and relationships, or went to college with him. Or you just don't know what it's going to be. And that's going to be extremely important to getting their attention and directing their staff. So you're not just begging from the bottom up as an activist. You've come in through a personal relationship that gets direct access to the congressperson. Then they turn and tell their staff, look into this and let me know what to do. And boom, now you're at a different level of the game. So we'll be talking about this endlessly. There's a million ways. We're just at the very beginning stages of very basic engagement. It's going to have to get much deeper and much more serious. And we're going to need Quentin and other organizations that have established networks and to use their networks. All right, with that, I'm going to stop talking. I'm sure you're thrilled to hear that. And take any last questions, and then we'll wrap at 1:30, and we'll stay on unofficially for anyone who wants to dig deeper and really pick my brain or share anything or ask for help about anything.